tourism to the U.S. is on the decline. The U.S. is set to lose $12.5 billion because of it. Traveler spending here is already down 22.5%. That's from last year, and it may only get worse.
Tourism numbers show a continued decline right here in southern Nevada, and that dip in visitors is causing a big concern for many Valley workers.
This summer already has seen significantly fewer tourists.
In June, occupancy fell 14.9%, and it got worse in July. For the week ending July 5th, Las Vegas posted the sharpest decline in the nation. Hotel occupancy fell to 66.7%.
Something extraordinary is happening right now, and most of the mainstream media refuses to talk about it openly. What was supposed to be America's great comeback summer of 2025 has instead turned into one of the darkest chapters in the history of U.S. tourism. Convention centers prepared for packed halls, hotels raised expectations for record occupancy, airlines added flights in anticipation of soaring demand, and cities from coast to coast budgeted for international crowds to return in force. But when the numbers finally came in, the picture wasn't just disappointing, it was devastating. Instead of a booming recovery, the United States has become the only major economy on Earth where international tourism is collapsing. Think about that for a moment. While 183 other countries are celebrating growth, America is experiencing an unprecedented decline. International arrivals have plummeted by double digits. Europeans, once the backbone of long-haul travel to the U.S., are fleeing in historic numbers. Western Europeans dropped at a staggering 17%, and from Germany, traditionally a reliable high-spending market, arrivals collapsed by nearly 30%. These travelers aren't simply trading down or choosing budget alternatives. They've stopped coming altogether, vanishing from arrival statistics. The message from abroad is painfully clear. America is no longer the destination it once was. Nowhere is this collapse more visible than in Las Vegas, a city that built its global reputation on international high rollers, Asian gaming wealth, and Canadian weekend traffic from just across the border. For decades, Vegas thrived as the world's entertainment capital, attracting millions who saw it as a once-in-a-lifetime experience. But this summer has delivered something nobody thought possible: a Vegas running cold, half alive, stripped of its international heartbeat. Walk through Harry Reid International Airport during what should have been the peak of August season, and you won't hear the familiar symphony of foreign voices. Terminals that once buzzed with activity now operate at barely 60% of their old capacity. The drop in international arrivals is shocking, over 40% year over year, the kind of decline that transforms bustling gates into silent hallways that feel more like museum exhibits of better times than living airports. This collapse is crushing the Strip. Hotels that for years kept their nightly rates above $200 are slashing prices to $163 just to survive. That 16% drop in average room rates represents panic in pure numerical form. Occupancy is at 74% during a season that was engineered to hit 95%. And when Vegas misses its target, the financial hole doesn't just dent earnings, it vaporizes millions of dollars every single day. The gaming floors tell the same story. July's $79 million in revenue sounds impressive until you realize it fell 15% short of projections. Baccarat tables, long the magnet for Asian wealth, are experiencing their first sustained decline in memory. Executives try to put a polite face on it, calling it a soft summer, but insiders admit the truth. This isn't an adjustment. This is survival restructuring. Entire floors are going dark, staff are being cut. Vegas, once unstoppable, now faces the terrifying prospect of long-term decline. But it's not just Vegas. Hawaii, once considered a guaranteed paradise for Japanese tourists, is suffering a quiet disaster. For generations, visitors from Tokyo and Osaka filled flights and hotel rooms, sustaining local restaurants and fueling entire economies on the islands. This year, that pipeline has collapsed. Japanese visitors are down more than 50% compared to pre-pandemic levels. Restaurants that once served 200 Japanese tourists daily now see 30 if they're lucky. Airlines have eliminated 250 flights in just 6 months. These aren't temporary cuts. They are structural withdrawals. For locals who have built their lives around tourism, the impact is crushing. Hawaii's Restaurant Association estimates 4,000 fewer jobs than in 2019, and each job lost is a family wondering whether life in paradise is even possible without international dollars. New York City, America's traditional gateway, is facing the same nightmare. Revised forecasts show 3.1 million fewer international visitors than projected this year alone. That's $4 billion in direct spending erased from the economy. Officials attempt spin, calling it a temporary adjustment, but hotel owners and business leaders know better. International travelers spend triple what domestic visitors spend. They book extended stays, patronize fine dining, and empty the shelves of luxury stores. Their disappearance triggers a chain reaction of economic pain, from hotel staff to taxi drivers to small restaurants hanging on by thin margins. Los Angeles is staring down an even steeper cliff. Tourism officials admit international visitor numbers are down between 25 and 30%. The January wildfires provided convenient cover for some of the decline, but industry insiders acknowledge the truth. The collapse began months before flames ever touched the hills. San Francisco, the supposed tech capital of the world, has watched overseas visitor numbers shrink by 5%. That may sound small until you remember this is the era of artificial intelligence revolutions, when international entrepreneurs and investors should be flooding into Silicon Valley. Instead, they are heading to Toronto, London, and Singapore. Conferences that once locked in years of advance bookings are now begging attendees with desperate discounts. Even Orlando, home to Disney World, the ultimate pilgrimage for families across the globe, has been hit. International bookings are down 38%. Imagine that. The Magic Kingdom, the crown jewel of American family tourism, losing foreign visitors to copycat destinations abroad. When Disney itself can't pull international families, you're not looking at a hiccup. You're staring at systemic collapse. Behind all these numbers are real human lives. Take Maria Santos, who cleaned Miami Beach hotel rooms for 15 years before joining the unemployment lines with 50,000 other hospitality workers. She recalls how managers kept promising international guests would return. First, it was next month, then next season. Now, she says, they don't even bother to promise at all. For workers like Maria, the silence is worse than the layoffs. It signals that nobody has faith in recovery anymore. Meanwhile, Washington continues to act as if nothing is wrong. Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo insists that tourism still supports 9.5 million jobs and contributes $2.3 trillion to the economy. The National Travel and Tourism Strategy still claims America will attract 90 million international visitors by 2027. But the math doesn't add up. At current rates, they'll miss that target by at least 20 million, assuming things don't get even worse. And then, in a move that defies common sense, Congress approved a new $250 visa integrity fee. Instead of making it easier to visit America, they made it more expensive. Nothing screams welcome like a surprise bill at the border. Industry leaders can't hide their frustration. The CEO of the U.S. Travel Association flatly admitted that the biggest deterrent to visiting America is cost, and Washington just raised it. The head of the World Travel and Tourism Council was even more blunt, calling this a wake-up call, warning that the world's largest tourism economy is headed in the wrong direction, not because of weak demand, but because of government mismanagement. Foreign governments are no longer subtle. 13 countries now issue formal travel warnings about visiting the United States. Germany warns that a valid visa doesn't guarantee entry. Britain cautions its citizens about unpredictable detentions at American airports. Japan emphasizes safety concerns. China tells its students to prepare for enhanced scrutiny. France put it most simply: America has become unpredictable. Even Canada, America's closest ally, has started publishing survival guides for crossing the border. When your best friend needs to issue an instruction manual on how to visit you, the dysfunction has reached a breaking point. Airlines are responding the only way they can, by voting with their route maps. Iceland's Play Airlines announced it will abandon all U.S. routes by October. Germany's Condor cut 6 destinations overnight. WestJet suspended 9 routes after bookings collapsed by 70%. Even giants like Lufthansa, KLM, Air Canada, and British Airways are trimming American capacity while adding flights elsewhere. The math is undeniable. Each international traveler contributes around $4,000 to the U.S. economy, and they spend 8 times more than domestic visitors. Losing them means losing billions. Analysts estimate the total damage for 2025 could reach $64 billion when you include lost jobs, tax revenue, and downstream impacts. Industry veterans are finally saying what everyone feared: this isn't temporary. One anonymous executive managing hotels across 5 states admitted they've stopped planning for recovery altogether. They're restructuring for a permanently smaller international market, converting hotels into residential units, eliminating language services, and cutting staff. Convention centers echo the same story. The great gatherings of international professionals and academics that once flocked to America are now splitting their events. A medical conference that brought 15,000 doctors annually announced they'll divide future gatherings between Boston and Toronto. The signal is loud and clear. No global organization can afford to bet its future on America alone. And looming ahead like an iceberg is the 2026 World Cup. FIFA expected millions of international fans to flood U.S. cities. Current projections suggest half will never show up. Olympic planners for Los Angeles 2028 are watching nervously, realizing that if America can't fix its tourism crisis, the world's biggest sporting events could turn into international embarrassments. The tragedy is that this collapse isn't about global demand drying up. It's about trust. The world has discovered alternatives. Travelers have found new favorites in Canada, Mexico, Europe, and Asia. Students are choosing universities in the UK or Australia over the United States. Business leaders are moving their conferences to Singapore or Toronto. Families who once dreamed of Disney World are booking theme parks in Tokyo or Paris instead. Every week that Washington delays action makes this shift more permanent. America has achieved something remarkable, but not in the way it hoped. Through paranoia at its borders, costly fees, inconsistent policies, and a steady drumbeat of detention horror stories, the U.S. has systematically driven away the very visitors its economy relies on. The world is patient, but patience runs out. Trust, once broken, is almost impossible to rebuild. And this summer may go down in history as the season when American tourism lost its future. The choice is still there. Washington can act before empty hotels and silent airports become the permanent new normal. But time is running out. Every vacant hotel room, every canceled flight, every shuttered restaurant is a ticking clock reminding us that recovery isn't guaranteed. This isn't just about tourism. It's about the image of America, the openness of its society, and the trust of the world. And as every insider now admits, the clock isn't ticking softly anymore. It's screaming. So if you care about understanding how these seismic changes are reshaping America's economy and its global reputation, you're in the right place. Make sure to subscribe to the channel because the stories ahead about debt, trade, and America's shifting place in the world are even bigger. Thank you for watching and stay tuned because this is only the beginning.